Today with us, we have Denise Pavlov, who is the Chief Underwriting Officer with Topa Insurance. As you guys know, Topa has been one of our best partners, if not our best partner for the last few years. And so with that, I'll let Denise introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Denise Pavlov, the Chief Operating Officer at Topa Insurance. I've been with the company about 3 years now and did some consulting prior to that. So very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Patrick.
Thanks. Denise, why don't you share, you've been in insurance for quite a while. Why don't you share some of one of your moments of success that you've had, or something that you've been really proud of over the last, your insurance career?
Sure. Early on in my career, about 15 years into my career, I made a decision to leave the company I was with, Mercury Insurance, after 14 years to join Western United Insurance. About 3 hours into my first day with the new company, the president, who was the gentleman that convinced me to join this company, was escorted out by the police and 2 board members. So it was a very interesting first day, and to find out he'd been cooking the books, and the company was days from being closed down. So I'd left a very stable job and had come into that. So we were required over the next 6 months to meet with the Department of Insurance weekly. I can remember many times I'm saying, you survived another week, but it's not looking good. So don't be surprised if you get off the elevators and there's chains around the door. Also should mention that during this time, we discovered the vice president was embezzling money and subsequently had him arrested, and he spent 5 years in jail. So the company was in really bad shape. Over the next 6 months, we shrunk it to about 27 million in written premium and started fighting our way back. So roll forward 4 years, and through a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, we took the company from writing in 1 state of 27 million to writing in 6 states at 474 million. So it was a huge success story. I was really happy to be a part of it. And then shortly thereafter, we were purchased by AAA. So it was definitely a success story. So very proud of what the team was able to accomplish.
Also, I don't think you've ever shared that story with me. That's pretty impressive. That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's a long story that's a really tough time. How many days or how many years off your life do you think got taken away those first 6-9 months?
Yeah, a whole lot. It was, I tell people it was the best and the worst time of my career.
Yeah, right. I mean, those experiences are what totally shape you for the future as you move forward. So kudos to you for getting through that. That's amazing. Yeah. So recently it was International Women's Day. Obviously you've had a lot of experience in insurance. What is some advice that you can share for women that are in the insurance field, either thinking about entering or have been in the space?
Yeah, so I would say this applies not only to women in the insurance field, but any corporate environment. You need a strong support system. So we all need that. So I would encourage them to find their own support system. Maybe it's a spouse, or your parents, siblings, friends. I can tell you through a lot of my career, it was a very close mentor of mine. And without my support system, and it's changed throughout the years who that is, I would have never made it this far in my career. So women tend to struggle thinking that we have to be everything to everybody. We have to be superwoman. And we think it's a weakness to ask for help. But trust me, that's not the case. So, that might work for a while, but something's going to break. So I tell, other women, protect your yeses. You don't have to say yes to everything. It's important to know when to say no, and just remember that no can be a complete sentence.
That's true. When you talk about a mentor, and can you provide some advice on how you would go about maybe identifying one, or maybe a characteristic or a trait you think? Because I think to me, a mentor was really important. I think it's obviously overlooked by a lot of people over time that's asking. So just from your standpoint, what are some of the things that you look for, or how would you go about trying to locate one?
Yeah, obviously it's somebody that you think highly of in the industry. It is somebody that's going to be able to be available to you, invested in your career, wanting to see you to be successful. And actually the mentor in my life, in my career, he probably goes back almost 20 years. And still today, even though he's no longer in the industry, we want to talk we probably on a bi-weekly basis. And he's still the one, if I run up against something difficult, that I call to get his advice on.
Yeah.
And he's been very invested in me. So I'm extremely fortunate, but it is important to find that person that you look up to and that is open to help you in your career.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. That's great advice. So switching gears a little bit, you've obviously been at Topa for a while, and we know some of the things that go on behind the scenes, obviously. But I'd love for you, as a person at Topa, at the insurance company, not only dealing with internally, but obviously with your external partners, reinsurance partners, investors, whatever it may be, and kind of how you kind of navigate that in the cannabis industry. Because even still, you guys have been writing this for 3 years now, and others have been writing it. There's still not a lot of carriers jumping into it. And so kind of how do you guys navigate that process?
Yeah, so first of all, internally, we really don't face any challenges anymore with our internal staff, our internal partners. We're very committed to the space. So definitely the biggest struggle is something that you touched on, is with our reinsurance partners on the reinsurance front. Because cannabis is not federally legalized, many of them can't entertain or write this class of business. So those that can, when they see the excellent performance, are absolutely opening to doing it, but it definitely limits the field. So we struggle at times to get the reinsurance support and capacity that we would like in order to continue the growth of this line. Up to date, we've been able to do it, but we do work a little harder than we do our other lines of business.
I'm sure.
Now, when we say it's not federally legalized, I think that works to our advantage though too, right? Because of the limited players in this space, we've been able to experience really good margins. And once that changes, and it will change in the years to come and become federally legalized, I think there's going to be a lot of people that want to jump into this space. So that's going to drive down the pricing some, but I think we'll still have a great advantage because of the market data and the business we've been able to write and the partnerships we've been able to form up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So because you guys have been writing it for the last few years, what are some of the things you've been most surprised about from an underwriting or carrier standpoint when you look at the cannabis industry itself?
Yeah, so I would say one of the areas is just how quickly these operations are growing. I mean, year over year to see the growth in the operations to me has been very surprising. And then the industry as a whole, it's progressing so quickly. We've seen other emerging markets throughout the insurance industry, but nothing like this. So that has been a surprise. And then I would say for me, one of the biggest surprises has been how well the product's performed. So the Canasher product is really just a commercial package, right? Written on superior properties and businesses that are very well constructed. They're very well maintained. And it's what everybody in the commercial package space looks for. So, and then if you look on the product liability side, because the product's so highly regulated, the exposure is really reduced on the product liability side. And then when you look at the casualty side, most of the businesses have 24-hour surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helps from a claims adjusting standpoint. So there's been a lot of things in this segment of the industry that I didn't know, if you go back 5 years, that have surprised me, but they've all been good surprises.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you were touching on one. I mean, claims, we always talk about it with you guys, and everything's on camera at the end of the day for the most part. And so there really aren't that many surprises. It's not too, complex to see some of them. Things are going to change, but as you look into your crystal ball, and I know people don't want to do that in an insurance company, but when you think about claims related activity, kind of what do you think is going to change over the next 1 to 5 years? And, most importantly, what's one of your biggest concerns as you look out for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think we're going to continue to see the outstanding performance that we've seen up to this point. One of the most prominent losses that we've been experiencing so far has been around fire, right? Involving lighting. So I think over the next few years, we're going to see different types of lighting products being used, a better installation of them. and which actually we're going to see a reduction in those fires losses that we're seeing today that are a result of faulty lighting and installation. So I think we'll see some changes there. And the areas that I'm concerned in would be with product liability, although we can't see anything now, right? It's still an emerging market, and we don't know what we don't know because of that. We don't know what
On-site, yeah.
claims.
On-site consumption is going to change that paradigm, right? So that's going to be the game changer, which is already happening, but it's going to obviously be, once we get out of the pandemic, I think to your point, it's going to be a game changer. What's going to happen there?
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know, if who would have dreamed a year and a half ago that we would see business interruption claims presented when there's no physical loss like we're seeing today with COVID? So that's what I mean. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we're going to see. I think we have very well written exclusions that are going to protect us, and they'll stand the test of time. But that is one of my areas of concern. And then the other one is, as we move into California, of course, is controlling our wildfire exposure. That is top of mind in the state, no matter what product you're writing, what property product that you're writing. Yeah. So I think we've got a great plan, but it is an area of concern and focus for me.
No, and it's been great working with you guys developing that with the, using technology, and obviously Topa's been in California. It's your home base is in Calabasas. You guys, live right there. So you have a really good experience for that. So with that, I appreciate it, Denise. I want to thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to a continued partnership with Topa. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.